Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundless success to join today. Let's get you to the next level.
We're here because the news is being distorted. We're here because people are being inundated with misinformation on social media. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Tariff responses, calls for NATO to step up, Amazon launching a Starlink competitor, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Stock markets around the world took a steep dive Thursday in the first trading session after President Trump announced sweeping new tariffs. The Dow dropped 1,679 points. The S&P 500 fell 4.8%, and the Nasdaq tumbled nearly 6%, marking the worst day for stocks since 2020 and wiping out over $3 trillion. The sell-off hit companies with global supply chains the hardest. Nike sank 14%, Apple 9%, Amazon 9%, and Meta nearly 9%. Trump's plan includes a 10% baseline tariff on all imports and steeper rates on several nations, like 54% total on China. Meanwhile, China announced Friday it will impose 34% tariffs on the U.S. The new China tariffs against the U.S. will go into effect on April 10th, according to the Wall Street Journal. The U.S. announced tariff hikes on imports from many countries, including China, under the pretext of reciprocity. This gravely violates World Trade Organization rules and undermines the rules-based multilateral trading system. China firmly rejects this and will do what is necessary to defend our legitimate rights and interests, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jikun said at a briefing in Beijing yesterday. We have emphasized more than once that trade and tariff wars have no winners. Protectionism leads nowhere. We urge the U.S. to stop doing the wrong thing and resolve trade differences with China and other countries through consultation with equality, respect, and mutual benefit, he added. The statement ignored the fact that China pays no attention to World Trade Organization rules and routinely puts onerous requirements on foreign companies. The rest of the world did not waste time responding to the tariffs. Canada placed 25% retaliatory tariffs on U.S. vehicles. France and Germany pushed for an aggressive response, with the French Prime Minister calling the tariffs a catastrophe for the economic world. French President Emmanuel Macron, meanwhile, urged companies to pause investments in the U.S. Japan called the tariffs extremely regrettable. European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen did not specify the bloc's response, but said it will be united. If you take on one of us, you take on all of us. Again, the statements of foreign leaders ignored the fact that they have had protectionist policies and tariffs in place against the United States for decades. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Thursday said NATO nations must provide a realistic pathway to ramp up their defense spending to hit a 5% threshold, including the U.S. I understand there's domestic politics. After decades of building up vast social safety nets that maybe don't want to take away from that and invest more in national security, Rubio said while speaking at a NATO foreign ministers event in Brussels. But the events of the last few years full-scale ground war in the heart of Europe as a reminder that hard power is still necessary as a deterrent. We do want to leave here with an understanding that we are on a pathway, a realistic pathway, to every single one of the members' committee and fulfilling a promise to reach up to 5% of spending, Rubio said, adding that the United States will have to increase its percentage. While the majority of the 32 NATO members currently spend 2% of their nation's GDP per previous NATO commitments, 8 nations, Croatia, Portugal, Italy, Canada, Belgium, Luxembourg, Slovenia, and Spain, have yet to meet their defense spending pledges. With increased national security fears and increased immigration enforcement by the Trump administration, experts are urging a re-examination of the UN host nation agreement with an eye to the functional immunity granted to UN staff and the limited vetting given to those with UN visas. The 1947 agreement outlining obligations as host of the United Nations continues to give employees and their family members relatively unfettered access to the U.S. The United States appears to have taken a relaxed view of the individuals entering the country associated with the UN, either as employees or as representatives of various country missions. And yet we know that UN employees have had and continue to have close direct relationships with terrorist organizations like UNRWA and Hamas, according to Ann Bayefsky, director of the Touro Institute of Human Rights and the Holocaust and president of the Human Rights Voices. Stellantis has furloughed 900 U.S. workers, idled their plants in Canada and Mexico, when the automaker, which owns Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, stated that it's pausing production at the 2 factories and temporarily laying off U.S. workers at supporting plants as Trump's 25% auto tariff takes effect. The Canadian plant manufactures the Chrysler Pacifica minivan and the Dodge Charger Daytona EV, while the Mexican facility makes the Jeep Compass SUV and the Wagoneer SEV. Stellantis North American head Antonio Filosa said the company will continue assessing how the tariffs will impact its operations. Amazon is launching its Starlink competitor next week. The tech giant that once only sold books announced that the first batch of its internet-providing satellites will lift off on April 9th on an Atlas V rocket, provided the weather cooperates. The initiative will pit Amazon against SpaceX's Starlink in seeking to provide the world with broadband internet from low Earth orbit. The initiative will eventually boast 3,200 satellites covering much of the globe. Starlink currently has over 7,000 satellites in orbit, with plans for as many as 42,000. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.